Not that it's much surprise to you guys, but we're going to be talking about some weird and crazy shit today because people, especially here in the United States, are kind of fucking crazy. But anyway, I hope you're all doing well on this lovely Saturday morning for me and Saturday evening for Ryan here joining us today. Yes. How you doing today, Ryan?
I'm doing much better than I was a few days ago. I've gone from shaking to speaking, as it were.
Always good thing.
Yes, I forgot to put the show on the Me on Other Shows playlist, but I'll definitely put it on there once the stream is over, because me
Do indeed.
doing two things at once is hard enough, even at 100%. Never mind at 60 or 70% capacity.
Right. Indeed. I do hope that you get 100% better, and then you can start releasing your ridiculous amounts of content all the time again. We'll say hello to the chat real quick. First off, we've got Ryan Roger Athay. Hello, sir. And then, of course, rare appearance from Scott at Sporking News Podcast. Hello, sir. Been a long time. Hope you're doing well.
Man. Very busy
man.
Doing
well. He is indeed. Most of the people we know are really busy people. It's kind of crazy.
I hate taking days off. I mean, 2 days without making a video, I would have torn what little hair I have left out. But it's good to see Scott, and hopefully his fine folks are doing well over at his podcast.
Indeed. And he says, listening. All right. And then we have John Edgar. Hail, sir. Wonderful to see you back in the chat. Of course, I missed out on pretty much all of the live streams from this last week because it was the single most physically intense and destructive week I've had since I was like 20 years old working in construction. And it's my own fault because a lot of it was just I chose to do more. But like Thursday and Friday, I couldn't even really move my lower back. So it was just kind of like, all right, I'm just not going to do anything. So that's why we didn't have those live streams. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about all the crazy that as much crazy as we can fit into an hour. Because there's a lot going on. And I never thought I would be at the point that I'm at right now. And it's Lauren Boobert's fault. All right. I know her name is Bobert, but it's Boobert now because little Miss getting groped. I'm from Colorado, and I'm not exactly divided on party lines in any way, shape, or form. But when it comes down to a conservative behaving this way, I expect just a slight bit more backlash, right?
Yeah. Trump's VP, Boobert. Grab her by the pussy, grab her by the boobs. It's
full package with that team. Absolutely. And I never thought I would ever say this in my entire life, but I agree with AOC. Yeah. When AOC was first coming up in politics, they released this music video that she did in college where she was dancing semi-provocatively or whatever, her nice big old titties just hanging out there, right? And it's whatever. I don't fucking care. You want to do that, go do that. If I had a problem with that, I'd be one of those weird-ass people protesting porn sites. And obviously, I'm not doing that. But I do agree with AOC on the fact that there needs to be more screaming and yelling from the conservatives in the Republican Party to curb this kind of behavior, because public servants need to be held to a higher standard. And I'm sure you all heard about this. I mean, she was in a stage production of Beetlejuice, a family-friendly event. She originally got in trouble for vaping, for being loud, singing, and all this shit that, it's a Broadway musical, bitch. Shut up. It's not a concert. Like, what? And then on top of that, okay, we get this crisp, clear video of her and her date just getting ready to go off full on private screening on this place. Like, he's getting a full-on handful, just like, and she's just like, oh my gosh, no, you have to push it a little higher up. I want more pressure. Oh my gosh. And then she's like rubbing up all on Mr. Sausage, right? And all this stuff. And like, if we could get a wider camera angle on it, I bet there would be at least half a dozen kids within eyesight of this going on. And I'm not normally a come out and talk about this kind of shit kind of guy, but Lauren Boebert is a fucking joke. All right. This lady, her defense, the only thing she said was, I was too eccentric. Eccentricity doesn't typically go into those realms. You know what I mean? Eccentricity is like, I'm worth $2 billion, so I'm going to wear a purple fuzzy jumpsuit everywhere I go. That's eccentric. Okay.
Yeah, or build a slingshot and shoot someone out of it to the next continent.
Exactly. You know, that's eccentric. What she's doing is, yes, John Edgar. Yes, too eccentric. That was her excuse. Yes, she got carried away, and she then blamed it on the fact the man she was there with was a Democrat. You can't get more American politics than that. I got caught giving this guy a hand job in a child-friendly theater, and it's totally his fault because he's a Democrat.
Yeah, honeypot trap. Honeypot trap. My girlfriend was a Republican. She trapped me. That's why the whole situation is bad. This is assuming I would be a demon rat. I mean, look at me. Probably would be, you know, the hair, the glasses, the massive nose.
American culture is very corruptive. So
I tell you this, Cory, I'd expect nothing less from political figures who turn up to Congress in pajamas or shorts. Literally, I would... At least I'd wear a pair of trousers to Congress, you know, nice pair of shoes as well. Then maybe a T-shirt like this one, tucked in, obviously, because I'm 24 going on 50, and put on a gray coat. You know, man of the people, that sort of thing. Bit tattered. Not like Lauren Boebert or Boebert. Or John Fetterman, who has 20 faces and 50 different forms.
Right. Like the whole Senate dress code or congressional dress code or whatever bullshit. Like, if a guy with an IQ of toast wants to wear sweatpants, then fucking let him. Who cares? The moment I see a 60 to 70-year-old woman show up on that floor in a fucking bikini, I swear to God, I'll start my own fucking insurrection just to get rid of her. Be like, look, okay, you look like a wrinkled tissue. All right, it's not okay.
I mean, like, Cory Booker looking like Black Ken. I mean,
Black Ken.
Yeah, from Barbie, like sort of just black wearing pink, a tight pink t-shirt, tight pink shorts. This man is supposed to represent a state the size of a European nation, as it were, and he's dressing up like a demon. Well, he is a demon rat, but it's just insane. Formal is fine. I don't like wearing a pair of formal trousers, but none of them fit me. But but they are very nice to have. I can understand, you know, suit and tie. I hate suit and ties, like
me too.
But come on, man, put on some black trousers and some solid black shoes.
Hey,
and
if it's too hard for him to get dressed in the morning with button-up pants and lace-up shoes, all I have to say is he probably isn't smart enough to handle the fucking job. But anyway, hail to low-spec Linux laptop and to one-man show. Hail, hail. Great to see you guys. Sporking News Podcast says probably she was high. Well, she did get caught vaping, and as we all know, THC comes in vape form, so I wouldn't be surprised. You know, maybe she was smoking bath salts before, and that's why she had all the extra energy to get, get a little into it.
Yeah, we need a
John
new...
Edgar says that is embarrassment.
We need a new kind of politician who isn't a politician. Excuse me.
I agree.
We need someone who is of the people, by the people, for the people, like a content creator. You know, we're not just ordinary people, because we have spoken our minds, we speak truth to power, we give our thoughts on topics and people that interest us, and we've gathered an audience. Whether it's a lot or a few, it's still a gathering of an audience, and I think that's a great foundation to get into the political realm. So, yeah.
Indeed. And hail to Boosh McFadden. He says, hey, Cory, and A. He says, I never dress for the job. I dress for the job I want. Well, I guess I do the same thing because I just lounge around in Fetterman clothes all day. Because my dream job, of course, is retirement. But at my age, that's never going to happen. By the time I'm 90, I'm going to be like, I finally have $1,000 saved up.
I could manage to save £1,000 in a year on welfare, Cory. It must be very, very bad in the United States.
Dude, it's pretty fucking stupid. But at the same time, I don't have a regular high-paying job or anything like that. I am what most people have told me is called underutilizing my skills. Because I'm like, I want to be a janitor just because I don't like being around other people. I get to go in when the building's closed, no one else is there. I just do whatever I want. It's great.
The cameras are there.
Well, yeah, but
so you're always being watched by someone.
Yeah, my crazy boss. Crazy boss. Not even she's
woman.
she's something else, bro. I won't get into too many specifics, but let's just say no one likes her for a reason.
Oh my.
And let's just check around the chat real quick, double check everything. All right. Good there. So we all know that American politicians are kind of fucking crazy. And I don't think it's going to get any better, especially with the upcoming year. And there's a lot of other stuff going on with judges in the United States. I'm trying to wrap my head around what exactly is going on with the Clarence Thomas thing, but it's all very strange, and I'm having trouble with that. Boosh McFadden says, I want to be a janitor so I can shit on Deborah's desk.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's not very nice, is it, Boosh? You know, Boosh, I've got to get you in touch with Subtle Deviancy. That is a man who knows how to press anyone's buttons. And I've seen it, Boosh, when you get your buttons pressed. So getting you two together would be very entertaining.
Getting Boosh together with anyone could be entertaining. Then again, I've never actually had an in-person chat with Boosh before. So Boosh, if you ever want to be on the show, please.
Yes, he's been a guest of Reality Based. We had a good talk. He was featured alongside Rambling Canuck, and I haven't made any shows recently because I can barely speak without coughing up a lung. But Boosh is always welcome back on Reality Based and any of its subsidiary shows.
Hell yeah. Cory. Yeah, when I have time, I'll do it for sure. Now we're going to move on to the judge. Man, this guy. Oklahoma judge opened fire while driving and intentionally crashed his car. And he's charged on a misdemeanor count of reckless driving. This is ridiculous. An Oklahoma judge was arrested in Austin, Texas last week after authorities say he opened fire on parked vehicles while out driving, striking at least one of them and intentionally crashing into a woman's vehicle, telling officers that she had cut him off. I've been cut off a lot. Hail to Radioactive. Good to see you. And awesome one. Hail bearded ones. Hail, sir. Bush says, I love Ryan's hope for an impossible future. Subtle, and I have been Twitter friends for months.
No, you should press your buttons, criticize your cooking, that sort of thing. But did this judge say Wakanda forever throughout his tirade, Cory?
I don't think so, mostly because he's white.
Ah.
I'll shrink that picture back up after we get a little bit. So Brian Lovell, an associate district attorney for Garfield County, Oklahoma, was arrested September 11th on a misdemeanor count of reckless driving. A felony count of engaging in deadly conduct with a firearm was forwarded to a grand jury for consideration, which should probably hold some water. Hail to Blair to Blair. Awesome to see you. He says, I've never been your friend, your Twitter friend. Well, Bush, it's really hard to find actual friends on Twitter. I'm just saying. He was released on a $10,000 bond and ordered to undergo mental health evaluation. Of course, he should undergo a mental evaluation. What? We have zero comment, said a woman who answered the phone call Friday to a number listed as Lovell's. The woman identified herself as his wife, but declined to give her name. This guy apparently had a bad day.
The white face of black supremacy, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed.
Sounds insane, but there is the black face of white supremacy, so yeah.
Okay. Lovell didn't immediately reply to the phone message, blah, blah, blah. He declined to when somebody went to his home. All right. So according to the Austin police affidavit, police were called at just after 4 p.m. on September 11th by a witness who reported a man firing approximately 5 times while driving down the street, striking at least one of the parked vehicles. 5 times. So he was driving down the road and he fired 5 rounds out his car and hit at least one vehicle. Bush says that sucker ain't white. He clear. Milton from Office Space would be like, he is really, really white. Have you seen my stapler?
Oh my.
Have you seen my stapler? I'll burn the building down. 90 minutes later, police responded to a call about a crash less than 2 miles from the shooting scene where a woman said a man deliberately collided into the rear of her vehicle twice. Lovell and his SUV matched the description of the shooter. He told the police he believed the woman had cut him off in traffic, although he acknowledged their vehicles had collided. He did not admit the collisions were intentional. He told police there were 2 handguns in the vehicle, but he said he did not know why he would have shot his gun and could not recall any part of the shooting incident. Drugs are bad, okay? He is a presiding administrative judge for Garfield County. Wow. September 11th, 9/11, murder. Indeed. He identified as trans BLM. That's why he's only being charged with a misdemeanor. Of course, the tranny demons and BLM get off with no trouble whatsoever when they do stupid shit. So that's a smart move. And of course, One Man Show says Alec Baldwin was his co-pilot. Yeah, and if Alec Baldwin had been shooting, someone would have actually got hit. Bush McFadden says, Cory, you know what BLM stands for? Buy large mansions.
Burn, loot, murder.
Blam, 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 blam. Okay. Blam, blam. Yeah, that's the ghetto version of Bam Bam. He's got a Glock. Again, judge should probably be held to a higher standard. And we need to stop giving these people light sentences.
Oh,
Like
the
if you're a
higher
public
higher
figure,
the higher the position, Cory, the less punishment is given.
which is ass fucking backwards. I mean, honestly, because it should be the higher your position, the more fucking trouble you get into. If the president of the United States, because of his high holding position, steals a candy bar, he should be executed on the spot. If a judge, if an associate district attorney goes around shooting his fucking gun, 35 years to life. I don't fucking care. These people need to be held to a higher standard of conduct because they hold themselves to a higher standard of being. They say they're better than us, and you can't say they don't. They wouldn't act like this if they didn't think they were above the law. So they need to be punished more severely than anybody else. I got a DUI and got put on 2 years probation and had to do all this other shit, right? And a famous football player from Colorado got his 4th DUI and he got 3 months probation because he's a fucking football player. There's a bit of a disparagement there. Okay.
Well, I'm British, so it's expected.
Right. Let's see. Crack, fent, coke, and those are his prescribed drugs. Indeed. The crack fentanyl coke combo I hear is really great for your heart. Super awesome.
John Fentiman.
John Edgar says this guy needs to be disbarred. Judges hold U.S. accountable for firearm infractions. This sets a terrible example. It does. It does. And Bush says he derailed me and he wins. You did. It's not hard, but you do win. Good job. One man show. He says we need a return of the Iron Mask. I'll agree with that. This judge needs to spend at least 3 months inside of an iron mask. That'd be great.
We know what's going to happen. He'll get a very light sentence. Then after a few years, he'll get a promotion. Because that's the sort of mindset that kills empires. And we're seeing that quite clearly in the United States, just like we're seeing it all across the Western world. It's quite simple, really, what Cory is saying in regards to punishment, in that the law is supposed to be fair and equal to all, but we all know that's not the case. Ideally, it should be, but practically, those in the highest position should get the or should suffer rather the consequences, the highest consequences, while those who are of the lowest, shall we say, suffer lower consequences. Because to truly expect a fair and equal judicial system is in any era is just crazy, including this era too. So justice, well, it's blind, and increasingly it's deaf, dumb, and American.
Yes, indeed. Boosh McFadden says a higher standard. You mean like not wearing gym shorts and a fucking hoodie? Yes, actually. It's part of the exact, like, I'm sorry, but I want my politicians to look nice.
That's how I dress at home.
Yeah, exactly. Like you and me, it's totally fine if we're sitting around in sweats or gym shorts or hoodie or whatever. But when it boils down to what?
I wouldn't go out like that.
No, and that's the thing. It's like you wouldn't go out to a restaurant like that. You wouldn't go out to the grocery store like that most of the time. But the realism is, you wouldn't hold a fucking Senate seat if you can't at least operate a zipper. Okay, show me you can work a zipper that's not on your hoodie. And show me you can work more than 3 buttons on a shirt. And then at least you'll be somewhat closer to being senatorial.
I only have 3 buttons on my shirt.
Yeah, I do too. It's fine. But it's crazy. Awesome One says if you're evil and on the right side, they get away for a season. Reason probably, I don't know. But hell will be their home. It will be indeed. One Man Show says, all the justice money can buy. Indeed. Look at Murdaugh. Yeah, there's a... So... looking at the wrong. We need statesmen, not politicians. Yes, one-man show. We need people who are actually for the people and not for themselves or whatever gigantic uniparty cock they happen to be sucking at any given moment.
That's why I think content creation, the age of the creator, is the way to go, because the viewers would be the check and balance. Because usually in a governmental system, you need checks and balances. But in the creator system, it's the viewership who are the check and balance. And for those who make the channel what it is, say, for example, the members, I call them loyalists, those who stand by the channel through thick and thin, and if they can, provide some financial support. But the age of the creator, that's where we should get our statesmen from.
And that's the thing, is like, as content creators, we're held responsible and we're corrected all the time. Like, look at how many times I've fucked up and Vince Womack and Bush McFadden are like, hey, you said that wrong. That's the wrong information. I'm going to correct you. And I never shy away from it. Occasionally I'll say I don't care if I'm wrong, but that's different. Indifference is just a normal part of existing at this point. But we, you know, we're held to higher standards than our fucking politicians are. And we're content creators. So there's obviously some imbalance there that needs to be dealt with.
Well, if enough, say, for example, for the United States, if enough American-based content creators got together and managed to agree on a platform of issues, could you imagine what kind of support base they could get? I'm assuming that not all of their audience is American, but the vast majority is. But that kind of unity, as it were, to a compromised document, because it has to compromise all everyone's different views, but that document could serve as the future of America in the 21st century, inspired by the last great document that America's founders wrote down and amended over the course of their tenure. Because we don't have a lot of time, folks. America is going down the tube, and it's the fastest thing I can think of in regards to saving America, and an alliance of alternatives that agrees on, a platform. And that platform is the document that everyone signs, like the founders did. The big names as well. Wonder who would write the biggest name.
Right. So one awesome one says, when a crime is not punished quickly, people feel it is safe to do wrong. And this is especially true when it's an influential public figure. When an influential public figure, like a celebrity or a judge or a politician, does something like really stupid, then other people will automatically assume that it's okay to do these things because the people leading us are committed to the same behavior patterns. And it's fucking ridiculous. And Bush McFadden brings up an important point here. He says, we need public servants. It used to be about serving the public, but it's not anymore. It's not. It's about serving your own self-interests and serving the interests of whatever motherfucker is pulling your puppet strings.
I mean, the whole idea of government and civil service and administration and legislation, they're such old concepts from centuries past, the 18th, 19th, 20th century mostly, that brought our civilization to where it is today. They've had their time to shine. It's the 21st century, and towards the end of my life, it'll be close to the 22nd century, hopefully. So we need to develop in a way that is not only more efficient, but puts the people at its core. I mean, trying new things, working together, not needing government and bureaucracy. This is why I believe what creators do, whether they're content creators, creator enterprises, or creator-based corporations, that's the model to build a brave new world that isn't a dystopian fucking hellhole ran by a monolithic government bureaucratic system that keeps an eye on every single thing you do and every single transaction you make and every single interaction you have with another human being. So that's why I think the age of the creator would give people unprecedented freedom. It would cause a lot of chaos, of course, because the administrative capacity would just vanish if creators were representatives and enough of them come together, they nominate a leader, and that becomes the leader, as it were. I would be very interested to see what America would be like if content creators, and there's a lot of crazy ones out there, but if content creators gathered together, formed a movement, and sought election. That would be very interesting to see. And if they get into office, they could use some of those resources for their respective channels, and it becomes, a self-fulfilling prophecy. Gather enough resources, use government resources to fund your campaign, and then do away with the whole governmental system. Because that's what creators would do. Because, well, let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Government and content creation is the antithesis of one another. Same with trade unions. Is there a content creators trade union? No. Content creators would probably get rid of trade unions because we have no need of them as creators.
Indeed. So One Man Show says, I can't remember the last politician I felt any respect for. They just make me sad now. Bush McFadden says, so far a grand total of 0 Democrats have regained or earned my respect since 2008. That's fair. Awesome One says, one has to have morals and a faith in God to follow that document. Speaking, of course, of our Constitution and such. Awesome One also points out that in the 22nd century, Ryan will be like 300 years old.
No.
So he might save Britain from tyranny, but who knows?
No.
Bush McFadden says, based on the Constitution of the United States of America, the role of the government is to protect citizen rights, not dictate what those rights are. You are correct. Awesome One follows up with, I'm surprised any Brits have the ability to speak your mind now online with what's currently going on there. There is a lot of crazy censorship bullshit going on in the UK.
I'm able to speak my mind, ladies and gentlemen, because the vast majority of my audience is not American. If it's American, I meant British. See, this is why they don't take me seriously, because of all the bloopers. That's why I'm still here. Thank you, dementia part of my brain. But no, in all honesty, the reason I haven't faced mass censorship is because the vast majority of the audience who watches my videos happen to be American. Although I am based in the United Kingdom, most of the videos I make, most of the suggestions I get, and most of the things I cover are from an American perspective. So I should be safe for now.
Indeed. So hail to TZ Burton. Great to see you. Awesome to have you in the chat. So Radioactive drops this, part 1 of 2. He says, reminds me of a program meeting I was at. Someone in a Hawaiian shirt, shorts, and flip-flops showed up. I told my boss he would give the best presentation of the day. Boss thought I was joking. The guy gives his presentation. It was outstanding. One of the best of the day. Why? No Fortune 50 company allows that to happen unless they really know their area of study. This is true. But unfortunately, the Congress and the Senate of the United States don't have that level of, performance, especially with a man who's like practically just a walking
corpse.
Yeah. And that covers like 3/4 of the people in the Senate.
It's literally the dead. No, you're actually hit the nail on the head, Cory. A government built in the 18th century and developed mainly in the 19th century is now dictating the lives of hundreds of millions of people in the early 21st century. It's like driving in a 19th century car that only supposed to fit 3 or 4 people in it, but there's 50 people in it, and it's being driven by people who have a foot in the grave already. It's a recipe for disaster. The principles never age, and they never die. That's the only thing you keep. You keep the principles. You don't keep the 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 burgeoning government, the rampant bureaucracy, and an administrative capacity which gains its own conscience and works against the very system that created it in order to survive. That's why I believe that in the age of the creator, because we won't need an administrative capacity to direct ourselves to the people, lay out our policies, and encourage our viewers as well as fellow creators to set it in motion. People power, that sort of thing.
Indeed. So Bush says shall not be infringed. People are being arrested because they hurt the fifis of a bartender who doesn't know what words are, but holds public office. Indeed. God-given inalienable. Ryan. He's really shooting for you today. He says those rights are granted by God. These politicians think they are higher than God. They always have. That's the one thing you'll notice about politicians and world leaders throughout history is they think they are higher than God himself. They think that they're the highest authoritative power in the world. And honestly, I know I would get sent to jail, but if I had an opportunity, I would punch Joe Biden in the dick.
Oh my.
Just saying. That's just great, man. Just great. Game over, man. Game over. And he says, name a current Democrat who is a good orator. Schumer is kind of okay. He can throw a lashing, but it's all hate and not uplifting. There was a time when we actually were uplifted by our politicians and by the things that they would say. But I would go as far as saying that we haven't seen any type of rousing political presence since Reagan. And I know a lot of people don't like Reagan, and a lot of his policies were strange, and there's a lot of splits there. But he was the last one that actually stirred up that kind of public devotion. And we're not talking about the Democrats who are blue no matter who because they're fucking retarded. We're talking about actually rousing the nation to care about the nation. And that's what we need. We don't need some 90-year-old fuckstick going down to a picket line being like, I don't know what's going on. Yay. I hope he falls up the stairs and shits himself on stage. Like, fuck that. Give me a break. That man is a fucking joke. And you know what? I'm just going to come out and say this. If my only two choices for this next fucking election are Biden and Trump, I'm going to shoot for a threefer and fucking vote for Trump again. Because guess what? I don't want either of them, but the shinier of the two turds happens to be Trump, even facing this kind of shit. All right? Always.
You got to think the kind of man Ronald Reagan was, a man who started his professional career as an actor, very very prominent actor, and as a Democrat. Let's not forget, who became a Republican. I think he was based on the West Coast, California, a state that for a time was Democrat, then it was Republican, and now it's Democrat again. So you take this man who had his roots in entertainment, but had the mindset that was very wide politically, on both sides, as it were. So he knew how to play both sides, and as an entertainer, as an actor, and as potentially as a director as well, because very very prominent actors and actresses, if they do very well, if they know how to direct themselves, they can direct others. And I think he saw a problem with the United States even as far back as the mid-1960s. And it was only in the late 70s, when things were getting really bad under Carter, the peanut farmer, that he decided to go all in. Then you had the 1980s, which completely changed the fabric of the world.
Yep.
I mean, compare 1979, folks, to 1991, and tell me that the 1980s didn't change the world.
Right.
But yeah, you need that figure. I don't care who it comes from, whether it's the Demon Rats or the Republicans. You need that figure who has a wide mind, who's been, say, for example, who's lived and been based in California, and has also lived and been based in Texas, or more recently Florida, and get those two different mindsets and find the best pieces of both. I know, best pieces, California, you must be crazy, but there has to be something that makes California the biggest economy in the United States by a country mile. I mean, is it gold? Is the gold rush still going on? I don't know. What's in that state? It's so wealthy, but it's so full of shit too, literally.
The state is full of one of the most important commodities in modern politics, and that's easily malleable minds.
Ooh.
Bush McFadden says, I can name a few Republicans who can speak clearly with conviction and reach people they're talking to. Democrats need the media to explain their nonsense. This is true. Bush McFadden also says, Bill Clinton was a great public speaker, Cory. You're nuts. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, but I am wearing her underwear. I mean, that's all I remember from Bill Clinton talking. Radioactive says, I lived and worked in D.C. for 7 years. Wow. Those in an office environment, all the guys were in a coat and tie, ladies' skirts or pantsuit, both government and commercial or nonprofit sectors. As it should be in D.C. I'm sorry. Everyone in D.C. should be wearing a suit. Even the homeless guy begging for shit on the corner should be wearing a fucking 5-piece suit. I don't care. Bush McFadden says, Rudy Giuliani was always awesome. Keyword there is was. Again, I am just personally sick of 60 to 80-year-olds being in charge of things. And it has absolutely nothing, once again, to do with the actual age of the person. It has to do with both the knowledge gap and long-term dependability. Because once you reach a certain age, fucking whole body could just shut down.
It's the mindset, because what worked, say, in the 1970s or 80s, it's not going to work in the 2020s or 2030s. And you think of the term limits of a president, you say 8 years. Well, it makes sense then, in my view, to have a president at, say, 60, hypothetically. Someone who's reached their peak and is beginning to decline at the start of their presidency, has a good 8 years, and has a successor who's bare minimum 20 years younger than he is. Yeah, I'm all no women, just male successors. Women if you're desperate, but and then repeat the cycle, as it were. Then you've got this guy who's in his early 40s, who's president for 8 years. We don't have term limits in the UK, by the way. You could literally have a prime minister for 30 years if he or she keeps winning elections.
Insanity.
You could. And politicians who put in policies that ensure social peace and economic prosperity, as long as they can keep on going and keep on growing, they keep getting elected.
I still think it's absolutely ridiculous that we don't have age limits or term limits here in the United States. I think it's ridiculous that term limits are not implemented in parliament. Just because
you can be
of how rapidly.
I think you can be a member of parliament, Cory, as young as 21. Maybe younger than that. Maybe 18. I'd have to double check. But you could literally be a politician from the age of at least 21, that's confirmed, until the rest of your life. So long as you've got a safe seat, you can always be reelected. And if you don't really want to do it anymore, but you want to, kick up a promotion, kicked upstairs to the House of Lords, where you can spend the rest of your retirement sleeping for £300 an hour in the chamber.
Oy vey.
But yes, we don't have term limits. The
One man show
reasoning.
says,
oh, go on.
60 is the onset of decline now. Good thing I haven't hit 60 yet.
That's when I think a person can peak, if they're at peak health. But most people, let's be honest, decline in their 50s. Unfortunately,
they do.
You'd be lucky to start declining in your 70s. I think Donald Trump is an example of that. He's not the example of it, because in recent years he has been going gray, but yeah.
So Awesome One's been on this. He says Ryan for prime minister in 2024.
No.
He also says that, ladies, Ryan just gave you his permission to ask him out for a date. Go for it. Do it. Do it. Yes.
No.
Ladies out there, the multitude of women watching this show, just ask Ryan out on a date.
No.
I think I have like 2 women that watch this channel. Okay. You are in the wrong spot to get Ryan a date. Unless, of course, you're trying to grind him up. Just saying. He also says you're 67.
No. I'm not Steven Seagal. This is not hair dye. This is not a custom job. No. Reality-based is not going to be a political party unless we really are desperate. I personally believe, Cory, that we don't need politics to fulfill the ideal unless we are completely and utterly desperate and running out of time. But yeah.
That's pretty much sums up humanity in my opinion right now, but I'm a pretty black-pilled individual. Radioactive says, the powers that be do not want term limits or age limits. The old saying, they wouldn't let you vote if it really counted, also applies. This is true. And you'll notice that all of these people that are scrambling to change the world are all basically on their fucking deathbeds. Just saying. Because they're afraid that their legacy is going to be being a poor-spoken, idiotic, half-witted piece of shit. And that applies to 3/4 of fucking Congress and 3/4 of the fucking Senate, 100% of the electoral, of the executive branch, and probably at least 2/3 of our judicial branch. Let's be honest, the Supreme Court is a fucking mess right now. And I don't even know where to start talking about that. So instead of talking about that, let's look at Quagmire's daughter, shall we?
Ooh.
Giggity. So obviously, Quagmire went out and got lucky and then had this lady with her gigantic fucking jaw. Look at that. Look at that. She's like a weird mix between like Jay Leno and Bruce Campbell. With a squished face, and you get Quagmire. Damn. But this is crazy. So she attacked 2 people at a pool for doing yoga. Just the face. This is literally her mugshot, okay? Let's just talk about this. Is literally her mugshot. She looks like a flesh iron giant. A little bit. But what genes went into making this monstrosity? It's not even an even and equal, like, symmetrical jaw.
I'd like to see that skull.
I
know it's not possible at the moment because, well, but give it 40 years. You know what Florida people are like. Hey, crocodile or alligator or whatever the fuck they call you. You can have 90% of the human. Just leave me the skull. It's very unique. We need it. You can take the rest for yourself and your little croco kids.
He says, bring up a picture. That's the Iron Giant. Okay. I will bring up a comparative picture here.
Now, I'm amazed the Floridians don't use execution by crocodile or alligator.
Now that you mention it, I think they should.
There's so many of them, and they're protected. I mean, the Canadians protect the Canadian... Well, they used to protect the Canadian goose, and they can be pretty hostile. They can't kill you. At least I don't think they can. But to protect a creature that could easily kill kids, like easily, without hesitation, and could be seriously dangerous to unprepared adults, especially if they are disarmed. And let's face it, Florida was a purple state at one point, so you never know.
Right.
You'd think there'd be, a more protective attitude when it came to very dangerous green creatures who could easily kill you. But no, we'll protect them, and millions of them will live in this state with millions of people. Because Florida.
So release the McCracken. Hail to you, sir. Says, bet she gives major skull, though. Yeah, bet she does. So Bush is actually right. I mean, look at that jaw. That's the Iron Giant.
Is that inbreeding, do you think?
What's that?
Inbreeding.
It's possible. It's possible. It is Florida. I mean, they are right next to...
I mean, not much of her from that visual looked retarded, apart from the jaw. That's all I'm going to say in that regard.
Yeah. Awesome One says, tigers and hippos are man-eaters, and they're still protected. Dude, hippos are classified by the people who deal with them every day as evil incarnate. Okay, hippos
are there millions of them in a small part of the world, like the alligators of Florida? I think tigers are a protected species because there aren't many of them left. There are literally millions of alligators in Florida. I think Florida only has a population of a few tens of millions.
You're not allowed to openly shoot them, though. You're not allowed to openly kill alligators in Florida. They are technically protected, but mostly because, Ryan, again, alligators are not protected. They are technically protected because of where they live. You're not allowed to hunt within the glades. You're not allowed to hunt within like the massively populated areas where there's a lot of alligators without special permits. So technically they're protected, but it's the wetlands that they live in that are protected more so than the animals themselves. It's weird. You need a license. Yes, you do. It's not like Texas where you can just go down there and shoot like 5 dozen boar and just be like, yeah, buddy. Awesome One says, that's why beards protect us from being called Iron Giants. My beard protects me from being ridiculed for having one of those dimples in my chin. That looks like a butthole.
I was just thinking, castle doctrine against an alligator. What do? Is there a legal case? You don't know.
Hail to Kenzo UK. Good day to you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's see. We talked about Boobert. We talked about the judge driving around shooting at things and not remembering why. And then we talked about Quagmire stuff. Indeed. I am actually going to go ahead and start winding down now, ladies and gentlemen. I know we just hit our peak viewer count for the hour, but I'm going to bounce. I'm going to go through my dad's antique hat collection. I call it antique, but my dad collected vintage Stetson hats and vintage Baileys occasionally, but he's got some open roads and some really cool stuff, and I would keep them, but his head was considerably smaller than mine. It's probably an ego thing, but they're very nice hats, but he has so many of them. It's probably going to take me at least 3 hours to get through just his hats. And that's not counting all the other cool shit that he has in the closet. But anyway, so Ryan, what you got going on? Where can people find you?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel that I am a guest of. I'm sure you will enjoy what Talks a Lot has to offer. As for me, I haven't made any videos today, but I will be making a few tomorrow. You can check me out at Ryan Roger Athe. I am the host and founder of Reality Based, a show where we go through the origins and happenings of fellow creators. We do have some subsidiary shows, but I haven't made any in a while because I haven't been in the best of health, as you have no doubt heard with my coughing and snorting sounds. No, it's not cocaine. It's just this. But yeah. So you can catch me on Rogue Entertainment. Hopefully they'll be live at midnight. Rogue Entertainment is hosted by the author Stephen Walton, also known as Ladonis Dragonstorm, a great friend of Scott from Sporking News podcast, and a great friend of other many fine folks too. That's at midnight. And then an hour later at 1 a.m. UK time, I'll be a guest of Hypnotic on Saturday Night Hypnosis, in which I think it's the Hollywood Scholar who will be the special guest for tonight. I think. I'm not sure. Probably.
Right.
But don't quote me. I'm not a news source. Though you could literally, Cory, you could turn reality-based into a news show, a political party, a movie show, anything, everything. That's another reason why... Oh, a spoon. That's another reason why I called the show reality-based, because you could literally turn it into anything, except fantasy, because it's a contradiction.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I am just going to come out and speak for every person on the internet and say that we're happy you're feeling better. And we do look forward to you getting back into the full swing of the stuff. Bush McFadden says that capsaicin can make your sinuses worse. That salt is the best. All right. We'll keep that in mind. Just make sure you hydrate a lot. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. I will see you Monday morning on Cory's Corner once again. And then a couple schedule changes. Dick's News US will now be on Mondays and International will be on Thursdays. I don't have a specific reason for that, but I think it'll work out better because I miss yelling at parked cars and I can't do Wednesdays. So I want to be able to get in on something like that. But ladies and gentlemen, I will catch you later. Stay sexy. Don't get murdered. And as always, have a wonderful time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.